Coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is the Blue Hot People Podcast. And when I say hot people, I mean because it is pretty hot out here in this neck of the woods.
It's warm. The sun is warm.
It's a bit warm. It's a bit warm for your boy here. But everything is usually warm for your boy here. What's going on, Dodgers Nation? We are the Blue Hot Podcast. We are powered by the Overtime Podcast Network. My name is Clint. You should know that by now, maybe. Maybe we should put like graphics on there just in case that we get some new folks. But anyways, you can find me as Real FRG on Twitter and Instagram.
We are also personally powered by Jim Beam, as you can see today. Guys, we've been asking for an alcohol sponsor for, 13 and a half years now. Jim Beam, the fine folks over there, finally sent us several bottles of this beautiful Los Angeles Dodgers bourbon whiskey.
That many bottles.
I don't know what that means, but it is here, and it is beautiful, and we have a sign behind us, and we have shirts, and we have highball mugs, which we are very, very happy about. So you will see a lot of Jim Beam over the next couple of podcasts with us. So we're very thankful to them. We'll shout them out a few times today. We love them.
The bottles you guys see that are watching this, the bottles you see on the table, I think that's half the bottles we got.
That. It might be even less than half.
There's a sign. There's a beautiful mirror. Thanks again to the fine folks. You know, we're not done. Well, we're definitely not done with the bottles. We haven't even cracked one yet. Nice, beautiful highball glasses, and we're gonna figure out once again. There might be set version for 40,000 for us here as we figure out how to get some of the prettiful things that we got from Jim Beam. But we got some things to talk about on the show.
We do.
One is a sort of long arching narrative from the last week of Dodger baseball, and that is Salty Dave. Hashtag Salty Dave. So Salty Dave finally did cave, and we're going to get into that for you.
I like just how ambiguous that is. No one has any idea what that means, and I'm loving it. We're also going to talk the impact of Mookie Betts, not just the RBIs and the home runs and the wins above replacement, but we're going to talk about the hidden impact of Mookie Betts and what he's been doing behind the scenes, because, my goodness, if there was ever a man to sign to a 12-year extension, it is Marcus Betts. Absolutely.
Marcus Lynn Betts, hashtag MLB right there. We fixed Austin Barnes.
We did it.
We did it, Reddit.
Yeah. We also got Corey Seager hitting second, which credit to us where credit's due.
COVID 5?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
We both tested recently and are negative, and we're this far apart. We got the power of booze to cure anything.
That's true.
Plus, we got to talk about the Dodgers roster. Surprisingly, there is a trade deadline this year. And we got to figure out if there's going to be any moves, if the Dodgers need any moves. So we're also going to talk to our buddy Tim Rogers, SD Dodger Tim, Dodgers Nation's own prospect expert, a few times today. We're going to plug in some conversation we had, and I'll probably make that full conversation available on YouTube.com/Dodgers Nation TV later this week. But let's dig into some comments. Let's see some what people are talking about here. Joe Bennett realizes here that it is a pregame show and says, "Let's go Dodgers." We agree with that. Let's give him the clap, if you will.
That was really good. Way to recognize that the game is up next, and we are right now. That indeed makes us a pregame show, I'm pretty sure. Michael, over on Facebook says, "Trade deadline, one starting pitcher, please, because you know what? 13 isn't enough. We need to add one more into the mix. I think we'll be good." Joe over on Periscope says, "Trade Jock." I have some words for Jock. One or two.
Is it two?
It might be two. It might be two words.
Do you want to say them now?
No, we'll save that for later.
Do I guess?
We'll guess.
Can we guess the letters?
Chris over on YouTube says, "Let's go sports team." And I think that's kind of the basis of our show on a day-to-day basis. It's just let's go sports team.
Roach, our friend Roach in the stream says, "I don't drink Jim Beam, but oh my lord, that is nice." Yes, it is. And I can't wait to crack open one of them bottles. We got to chill. I like my whiskey a little bit chilled.
Yeah.
And we don't got any ice here. No. And again, it's hot in the office.
It's hot. It's hot everywhere you go. You step outside, you turn into a melted popsicle. It's a good day in Southern California. Over on Periscope, Mr. Tim Rogers, who we will hear from later, says, "Please do not give me the clap. Please do not." We will give you the clap later, Tim, after we listen to your segment, which will be good. So,
I guess Janae says that she owes me a beer. I'll take that beer. Thank you, Janae. I don't know, but it's on the internet now.
I mean, no takebacks on the internet.
No take-backsies. We plugged our booze. We also want to plug our store. Gary, one of the reasons Gary's not around these days as much is because we hate him. No, we love Gary. We hope you're watching, Gary. Gary did drive by and bring all this fine booze here from the mail place, as they call it, rest in peace mailboxes. But another project he's been working on a lot is our new store, Gear Up LA. GearUp.LA. Check it out. We have all the merch, including the fancy. Why aren't you wearing your nice Swing Bitch shirt?
I put it in my bag, and then I took it out to put something else in my bag, and then I forgot it. So, my own design doesn't even make it onto my podcast. Well, it's not my
oiled
design.
Machine. All right. Quick week in review, and I think we've kind of come to a point where even we got a comment earlier today that we should probably be doing these shows more frequently than once a week, and it might have to come to that point, but
we got a lot of baseball to talk about.
Quick week in review. Dodgers split that series in San Diego, which I believe is what we called. We said the best case scenario was like 3-1.
I had said if they lose the first, or if they fall behind in the first game, they're going to split the series.
Yeah.
And you had just said flat out they're just going to split the series.
So a couple points there for us for being right, like we always are, because we're the best. Could you have saw them sweeping the Angels?
No. No, I could not have.
Anaheim, also known as Satan's anus, where we do not do well.
Or legs last, and there was a victim. There was a hamstring victim, as we predicted, because they don't make it through Anaheim without a hamstring injury.
They do not.
That is a cursed stadium. That is a cursed franchise. I don't know what they did. I don't know if Artie Moreno sold Tim Salmon or something like that. I don't know what happened, but my goodness, that is a cursed franchise.
It's really bad, but it was very nice to see the Dodgers finally beat up on a bad franchise that was supposed to be a better version, Michael Trout didn't do all that much, and by not doing all that much, he cranked 1, 2, 3 home runs, whatever. But he also
did a lot of window shopping.
As I think it was Hunter Kondo, Dodgers social media guy, came up with the social copy that said window shopping, as he looked at 3 straight strikes from a very much, I guess we can call him officially resurgent Kenley Jansen. But
look good.
That's not today's show. There was a trigger point, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, when everything started kind of coming together for this Dodgers team, and that was last Tuesday.
They just sent Edwin Rios to the injured list, by the way.
Cool, Edwin Rios. That was not the trigger point.
My bad.
But
I just had to throw that in there real quick.
Well, all right, we'll be back now, but we won't be back ever. But a trigger point happened when the Dodgers lost that second game of the series against San Diego at Dodger Stadium. Things weren't very happy. The Dave interviews were not happy. The post game was not happy. It got a little worse the next day. So, like I said, Salty Dave kind of became a thing. Thanks to our friend of the show, Bill Plunkett, came up with hashtag Salty Dave. But Dodgers had lost those 2 straight there, 3 of 4 overall. Dave kind of snapped, and after that offensive flop, Dave, I think, faced the same questions just one too many times, and we're going to hear this kind of extended version, but still truncated version of Salty Dave Roberts. And if you didn't listen to this, it gets a little uncomfortable, and it's a fun time.
Hi, Dave. Just curious, as far as your offense goes, I know you guys are handling adversity in a lot of different ways, and so is everybody, but speaking specifically about baseball, is this the first time since you can remember that a group of hitters are going through some sort of funk individually and collectively, and how do you feel your guys are handling that adversity?
It happens every year that a group of guys aren't swinging the bat well. We have this conversation every year. Every manager does. So I think the guys are handling it well. We just got to be more consistent about, scoring consistently, runs per game. We're at the top, near the top going into last night. So it's just about going out there and continuing to take good at bats.
Okay, thank you.
Next question from Alana Rizzo. Go ahead, Alana.
Dave, good afternoon. What made Tony the best choice to start tonight, and what are you hoping that you get out of him?
I think with Tony, it's just he pitched well last time. I think he deserves this opportunity. It gives other guys in the rotation extra day, which we're very mindful of early on the season. And for him, it's just let him go as long as it makes sense to win the baseball game. But he's built up.
Was Kirsch okay with being pushed today? Not going tomorrow?
Yeah. I don't see yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Next question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead.
Dave, there's been talk about a possible playoff bubble, just maybe in Southern California. So what are your thoughts on the possibility of that happening?
We'll do whatever Major League Baseball and the Players Association come to an agreement about.
Thank you.
Next question from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
You sound a little salty today, Dave. I like salty Dave.
I like good questions, Bill.
Okay, well, I'll try and come up with one then.
That's great.
Talking about the offense, the reason it seems to surprise that it's slumping collectively is how deep your lineup was going into the season. Do you still think that's the case, that even as deep as it is, there's going to be down times?
Absolutely. It's baseball. Guys are trying. It's 12, 14 games. It's baseball. Guys aren't going to always be hot. There's actually the bottom of the order has been picking us up at times. So I have no concern about our lineup, riding the ship and scoring runs consistently.
Salty Dave.
I really enjoyed Salty Dave. I don't know about you, but I don't often see the bite back from him.
Yeah.
So to see him kind of, look, he knows media members. He talks to them all the time. They're friendly. They've known each other for a long time. So to see him kind of snap back at guys that he knows and he's friendly with is kind of like, all right, yeah, these are not great questions. I understand your frustration with them. I understand the fact that you just lost 2 games that you should not probably have lost, that you guys haven't looked good. I get it. I get the frustration. I get the anger. As a result, things changed.
They changed quickly. Keep in mind, the night before that, he was hammered, like you're saying, with the same question. And it's been a lot of the same questions over and over. We're all learning how to deal with this weird Zoom media availability. It's hard. Everybody has their own way of doing it. And, we love Alana. We love Dave Vassay. But they tend to, ask the more easier questions, but also kind of like bordering on the hard-hitting questions in a way that whatever the major narrative is. And at that time, the narrative was, hey, the Dodgers aren't playing very good. What is going through these players' heads? Can they pull out of this? And so, yeah, it seemed that everything just kind of pulled together at that point. And then some things happened. So after that, in that game that night, Chris Taylor bunted. And where is it? It was glorious.
I haven't seen a bunt since I was like 3 years old, man. I don't know. I was missing that. If you guys know anything about me, you know that I love small ball. I'm not a huge fan of home runs and that crap. I love pitchers duels. I love old school baseball. I love me. I just want to talk some baseball. You know what I mean? To see these guys doing whatever they can to manufacture runs was huge. Seeing Austin Barnes bunt was a thing of beauty. Seeing Chris Taylor bunt was a thing of beauty. You've watched the Padres do it a couple times in a row, actually. I think at one point, like 3 times in a row, they tried to bunt. So I love the Dodgers taking advantage of that. I love them being aggressive and saying, like, hey, we haven't been able to score runs. We got to find a way to score runs. And they did. They put up a couple, and they did well. And turns out, it kickstarted the offense and got them going through the weekend.
Because Pollock had walked to lead off that inning, and then Taylor just dropped down a perfect bunt on his own accord. It was not called by the dugout.
Right.
A batter later, or 2 batters later, Austin Barnes comes up with the, in effect, there was a plan. That one came from the dugout, the sacrifice bunt, but it was like, wow, they're trying. They want to win a baseball game.
I like it. Jason says he may still be salty since clearly Mookie going to the leadoff has helped a little bit too. And that's definitely been something that's been talked about for, I'm going to say since the season started. Why isn't Mookie batting leadoff every single time? And since then, Mookie's bat leadoff every single time, and it seems to be working.
So after that game was the last day, we had the Jock Peterson experience at leadoff. And, Jock, who leads the league, I think, in recorded F-bombs, this year.
Yep.
He's not doing as bad as it looks, and I think he's another one of these guys that's going to break out in the same way like Cody is a little bit. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting to a lot of, or not. He's not hitting the ball hard always. That's Will Smith, but we'll get into more of that later. But he's a guy that's hitting into a lot of bad luck. I think he has like a BABIP of 150. So Jock clearly at that point in time is not the right guy for the leadoff spot. And it seemed to me like Dave was more so doing it out of like, I'll make the lineups around here. You know?
Yeah, I understood what he was saying when he said we're going to stack the lineup in a way that prevents us from a left-handed pitcher coming in and getting back-to-back left-handed hitters, or whatever he said to that regard. I was like, I get that, 100% understand that, but what I don't get is why you need to then change that up and have a lefty bat first and stack them like that.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense to me. Mookie spent like 95% of his career or something crazy batting out of the leadoff spot. So if you take him out of his comfort zone, obviously you're not going to get the best of results. Clearly that ended up working when he moved him back to the leadoff spot.
It's not that Mookie was bad as a number 2 guy, but he's
we
an
just
MVP.
we just don't have a number 1 guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you look at Mookie Betts, he can hit first, second, third, fourth, doesn't matter. But the fact that we don't have a leadoff guy and he is one potentially, and you're not using him as that, questionable. Very, very questionable.
So after Salty Dave, the next day, I think it was a post game. We'll see by however Dave is dressed right now. But the next day, Doc did reveal that Mookie approached him about leading off and expressing his thoughts on and his comfort level with doing it, and that it might be good for the team. And like I said before, it seemed like Dave he was a little. Maybe it was just me, but I felt a bite out of Dave again. Which is a weird phrase, maybe top 10 weirdest phrase I've said on this show.
Dave bit me.
Dave bit me is the new title for the episode. He seemed somewhat on edge that somebody would question his lineup decision. So here's Dave on that conversation with Mookie.
And on the leadoff topic, Dave, when we asked Mookie about it, he says just a comfort thing for him. But he said you guys have talked about it a little bit. How recent were those talks? I know you did back in spring training.
We've talked a lot about it, and the most recent was a couple days ago, and just trying to navigate, and I welcome those conversations. And it's just understanding what I'm thinking, what he's thinking, what's best for our ball club. I looked at how guys are swinging, and that's why I made the decision once we got Corey back today to hit Mookie leadoff. Because there's some guys that are struggling, and there's some other guys that we'd like to get potentially 5 at-bats. So it was a great conversation, but at the end of the day, Bill, he is all about the team, and whatever we ask of him, he's in.
So, of course, Dave batted Mookie leadoff in that game. That was the post game. That was a 3 home run game. So to go quietly say, hey, clearly I'm your leadoff guy. Let me just drop a 3 spot on the board here.
I love that. It's like it's him getting comfortable, him saying like, hey, yes. I can question things, I can talk about decisions being made, I can be more forthcoming in my opinion. And he's a good player. Like if you have an MVP caliber player, number 1, you want him on your team, but number 2, you want to know his opinions, you want to know what he's thinking, you want to know what he thinks of the players around him, because that's important. You got a guy you just committed to longer than anybody else that's on the team. No one else on the team is committed to as long as he is. Like Clayton Kershaw could be gone pretty soon. You never know.
Yeah.
But Mookie Betts is committed to for freaking the next 13 years. So you got that guy on your team. You're going to want his insight. You're going to want to know what he thinks, what he believes about the team. So the fact that he was able to say that kind of, obviously we don't know what that exact conversation looked like, but it sounded like he was just like, hey, I'm your leadoff guy.
Yeah.
I'm your guy.
And I mean, these Dodger players, obviously you have players of the caliber of Cody Bellinger and Corey Seager. They're younger guys. They maybe they feel they haven't cut their teeth in this league. I think that's a phrase that white people use.
Never heard of cutting teeth.
I don't know. I think it's a way. It's a mating thing.
Oh.
But imagine you showing up like first day on the job, or it's your first year in the job, and be like, "Hey, man," or first couple weeks in Mookie's case. I think about time to make some changes.
Yeah, just like immediately coming into an organization that you have never been a part of and being like, I run things now. And you're just, what are you, LeBron? Like, come on.
No. I guess, Braun is probably better. I was going to go Kanye and be like, I'm going to let you finish, but
No,
I'm the best leadoff hitter of all time.
That's a LeBron and Tyronn Lue situation where he runs and he says, "Hey, I'm the coach now. Sit down."
Way to bring it to sports, as I'm trying to bring pop culture into the show. No,
I only watch
not.
sports. I don't know anything else.
So, like you're saying, he seems to be getting more comfortable with quietly leading Mookie in the background, doing his thing, and that's great. And we also heard the story that wasn't quite maybe supposed to get out, but Joe Kelly did his Joe Kelly thing, and we feel that there's been enough talked about Joe Kelly over the last week, so we're not going to do too much on that. Of course, go check out our friends at the Big Swing Podcast. By the way,
we have
Cooper sent me a hat. Much love to at Cooper Searles. Go at him and say thanks for the hat for Blue Heaven Pod. But Joe Kelly talked with Dave Esse about Joe Kelly spent 5+ years of his career now playing with Mookie in some way, shape, or form. He was traded to the Bostons the same season that Mookie came up, so they've been playing. They've gone through everything. Cut their teeth together, if you
full circle.
We brought it back.
Big payoff on the show. Big payoff.
That was a personal foul right there on my part. But well, let's just I'm going to play the clip and then we'll kind of digest and break it down from there.
And Mookie thrives off of guys, other guys in the lineup performing, not just hits. When Mookie sees guys, take a ball that's close to strike and get a walk, like that pumps Mookie up. So I know Austin Barnes going deep last night was huge. I know Barnesy and Mookie have been talking hitting particularly, and I know Mookie's been helping out Barnes on the side a little bit. I don't want to put them all out there, but Barnesy going deep, I think that helped Mookie hit. What was it, his third bomb after Barnes going deep?
Yeah.
Second or third, but I know that contributed to Mookie. Mookie gets pumped on stuff like that. When he helps people out and he sees success, it just makes Mookie a little bit better.
So Austin Barnes, we know Austin Barnes has been on fire over the last week since Will Smith went down with the neck injury, and we'll get more on Barnes in the next segment. It was a cool story. You like to you see that, you hear it, and then you kind of get that click in your head. It's like, yeah, he does really seem to be just overly into his teams. We've seen it in just about all the press conferences. He doesn't want to talk about Mookie. Does not want to talk about Mookie. He wants to talk about everybody else. You see his face light up when he talks about his teammates. When he talks about, I don't know, somebody doing well, Dustin May, or insert player's name here. Somebody doing well, he much prefers to talk about that. In my opinion, been around for a boomer amount of years now.
Right.
Mookie's the only player I've ever seen that kind of justifies this 12-year deal they got. Like the 12-year deal is universally loved, and anybody not named Jared Carabas, like they don't have anything to say that's bad about it outside of boohoo, I want him back.
No, I think this is one of the few times where you look at a long-term investment like that, and there's just been so many bad contracts, so many bad long-term contracts for baseball over the years. Garrett Cole is the most recent one. That one's going to really blow up in their face, I think, for the Yankees. Shout out to the Yankees for that bad decision. Don't have quite the same cheating material over in New York as they do in Houston. But anyways, you look at the Albert Pujols contract, you look at things like that, and you say there's no way that you can commit to a player for 10 years or more. No. There's just no way to do it. It doesn't make any sense. Mike Trout, obviously an exception. That's a guy you commit to very long term. I think the Bryce Harper contract in terms of the value per year is good.
Yeah.
So they did well in that. But Mookie Betts, man, you look at that contract and you're like, this is one of the few times where you see that, hear about everything that he does, see the things he does on the field, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's a great contract. Like, I'm really glad they're going to keep him around till he's late into his 30s and beyond his years.
40 is when the contract will end.
And so if you're looking at that and you're like, yep, good deal. So that's how you know what kind of player that you have in Mookie Betts. Of course we talk about this like this is our money, which obviously the only money they get from me is Mitch a lot of money, which pays for a good chunk of his contract, if we're being honest.
You look at the money that was given to Manny Machado by the San Diegos, and you look at the, air quote, little bit more given to Mookie for 2 more seasons. And it's not even close on the spectrum of, like, you got bent over to, wow, they probably could have given him more.
I mean, I absolutely could have given Mookie Betts more money. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm sure he's not going to be mad about it either. At the end of his career, he's not going to look back and be like, hey, I could have made $12 million more if I had not signed a 12-year. Whatever. He's probably not going to look back with regret.
Yeah, he'll have plenty.
But he will also have rings by the end of his career, which is fantastic for him. On top of that, he will also get to play in a place that actually is nice to play in, which is always good. You don't have to go to a place that hates you like Boston for some reason. And it's just, Manny Machado's contract, I think, is really going to hurt San Diego long term. I think they made a bad call on that decision. The Eric Hosmer contract also hurts them pretty badly, but they have a history of making bad contract decisions. It is what it is. So I feel a little bit bad for the Padres in the sense that they could have been a very good team, but Manny Machado is only going to help to a certain extent for the next couple of years. Sorry about that, Padres. Great contract overall for Mookie. Love it. Love the type of player he is. Love what he brings to every single game, even when he's not in games. When you saw him sitting with that finger injury.
Yeah.
Still top step of the dugout on big plays. Still completely locked into everything. Still talking with dudes about baseball during the games. It's a beautiful thing. Like, it's a beautiful relationship that they have. And he recently on his during his charity drive this past weekend on a Zoom call, he was like, hey, like, LA's my home. Like, this is my home now. I very much consider it my home. And so I want to make sure my home is taken care of. And so I love it. I think he's great. I would buy all of his jerseys. I would buy
4 of them?
I did buy 4 of his jerseys. They are not all for me. I don't just wear jerseys at home.
He likes to bundle up because it's so cold out here in Southern California.
Pasadena's doing their power outages this week, so I got to make sure I'm real bundled up today.
So everyone, remind yourself every single day to be thankful for Mookie Betts as a Los Angeles Dodger at least once a day, because after years of struggling, not getting that free agent we want, not getting the trade we were supposed to get, even though they went out and got Manny Machado. They went out and got people like you, Darvish, who was the better of the two between Darvish and Justin Verlander at that trade deadline. At me if you think differently.
Oh, he definitely was the better of the two.
At that time, for sure. And, tipping and trash cans and all that kind of stuff played a role in that postseason. But good things come to those who wait. And
bless Dodger up Andrew Friedman. My goodness. I mean, I don't know.
I love you. You asked him for the statue, man.
I did ask him if he's ready to build his own statue out there, because he deserves it. I mean, you look at what that guy's done. I just wrote an article today about Frank McCourt, so I'm really feeling thankful for the ownership group, the general manager that we have. I mean, no disrespect to 3-year Ned Colletti, but Andrew Friedman has really come through.
So let's dip into some comments here. And on that, I've seen a few comments about the Frank McCourt situation. I don't want to get too much into that because
Frank McCourt is killing a franchise.
Again.
How about that? For the second time in not that long. When did he sell the team? 2014? 13?
12.
It has not been, 2012, because it's almost been a decade. It has not been that long. Frank McCourt is already tearing apart an entire soccer franchise in France, of all places. So that's good. As they put it, and stop me if this sounds familiar, it's become less about winning in the franchise and more about making money.
Well,
Does that sound familiar?
He wasn't that much about making money back then. He was about spending it.
Well, he was also about trying to recoup money because he bought a franchise that he couldn't afford without money that he didn't actually have, and then lost it all to his wife, and then tried to recoup it in the parking lot, which he is still recouping it in the parking lot. So that's always fun. The most hated man in Los Angeles. There's a lot of hated dudes in Los Angeles, like Kawhi Leonard, but I mean, goodness.
Another one here. Michelle, I got you. Michelle Carter's been wanting us to get to the Seager matchup, the Seager on Seager. You got Kyle and Kyle's brother Corey finally playing against one another officially.
It's cool.
It's cool. That's about it. I'm
There's
not
really
that
much
into
more.
it.
I'm not like one of those dudes. I'm more on the like father-son games. Like those are cool to me. Like, I mean, baseball families are always baseball families. So
yeah, like when Joe Kelly pitches to Carlos Correa.
Yeah, his son. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cute. But yeah, they were on a media call this afternoon, and they were fun. They were happy about it. They were having a good time. They were making fun of each other and all that stuff.
LA media had no idea what to do with it.
We didn't know. There was nothing to ask. It was like, hey, you guys are brothers. Talk about being brothers. I don't know. We don't know anything about Kyle Seager. That's not our job to know anything about Kyle Seager.
Yeah, I think it would have been perfect though if at the end of it would have been like, give me a high five.
Mm-hmm. I follow.
Anyway.
Even the brothers had to socially distance.
Yeah. Which is
good.
That's good.
Yeah, live different households.
But it's cool. Last time they did match up, Corey was hurt, and Corey notably was almost hurt for this matchup again, and he didn't really think about it. So there was a few good ones in there. But OB on Periscope says Carabas is a clown. Hey, big facts. Big facts in the stream. I see some people talking about a mascot. People wanting a mascot for the Dodgers. Where do you guys stand on a mascot? I hate mascots. I'm staunchly no. I think Tommy Lasorda's our mascot.
Yeah, he just sleeps. So
yeah,
just don't interrupt him. He's fine.
Instead of arriving in the third and leaving in the seventh, Tommy arrives in the third and sleeps by the seventh.
Yeah, and he'll occasionally yell at somebody that he doesn't know. Occasionally, it happens.
Yeah. Well,
it's fine.
We probably shouldn't get too much in. I don't want to be too honest there. Yeah, those are some of. Somebody wants us. Juice wants us to take a swig of the Jim Beam. Not down yet. Not down.
Gotta have tacos first.
Oh, it's hot. Anyway, catching situation. So, like I alluded to earlier, on that Barnesy hot streak and on Mookie Betts doing more than what meets the eye or whatever the hell. That was Transformers, more than meets the eye. Since he got his personal hitting coach, Mookie Betts, Austin Barnes is hitting over, so heading into play today on Monday. So we're recording this before Monday's matchup against the Seattles, and he was hitting, I think, 444 over the last
really?
5 games.
Is he really?
So again, we fixed Austin Barnes. He was literally the title of the last episode of this podcast.
To be fair, I think he was the title of a lot of Dodger podcasts this last week.
Fair.
Going into his hot streak.
Again, small sample size. It's only 4 games, like 4.5 or no 5 games.
I don't care
like
if it's a small sample size. He never did that in any sample size last year.
Raised his batting average from 0.91 to like 256, 250-ish. Getting it done. Looking hitterish at the plate. He's not just flailing. His head and eyes aren't looking out into center field while the ball is past him. Yeah. How real is this in your opinion? And guys, feel free to chime in. We'll get better with the comments. Sometimes we get a little wild here, but
I will say
how real is the new real AB?
I will say that, obviously he's not going to maintain this pace. He's not going to hit 400 over the course of a year or anything like that. It's not reasonable to expect that. I will say that he has not had this string of success since 2017.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, there's never been, you could take any sample size, any spaced out sample size for him, whether it be the first 3 at bats or the last, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. He's never had this kind of success since he was great in 2017. So with that in mind, you got to look at that and be a little bit encouraged by it. If you want to get real about it, probably a little bit of luck sprinkled in here and there. He had a few blue hits over the course of the weekend that fell in, and I'll take them because if he's working on the Keibert Ruiz type of thing, where it's just, hey, bat to ball, see what kind of luck you can find, and don't strike out as much. I'll take that because he was coming up and just 1, 2, 3, you're out. That's it. Looking at pitches, it was just terrible. So
he's not taking walks. He's walked once.
Right. He's taking hacks. He's definitely hacking at the plate. He had an at bat where he fouled off like 8 straight pitches or something like that too. So he's definitely up there to hit. And I don't mind that. I don't hate that from the 9th spot. I don't hate that from the bottom of the lineup. I don't hate that from a guy who's hitting .091. And you can do with that number as you will. Over the past couple of days, what it's been, you might be like, hey, that's just a string of good luck or whatever it is. He's putting the bat on the ball, and I appreciate that, and it can only be good for him. So I'm going to say he doesn't hit 400 for the rest of the year, but I will say that he becomes a much better hitter than he's been. And I'm going to entirely attribute that to Mookie Betts and no one else, and us, of course.
Yeah, no, we did. It was. I think it was like probably
we made him cry. He cried, and then he was like, "I'm gonna get better at hitting because those 2 idiots talk a lot of crap." And but we do. We do it with love.
We do it coming from a place of knowing that we are verbal batting coaches and we inspire.
When is he going to work with Kike?
I've been trying with Kike personally to fix Kike. You know this for at least the last 70 years.
You have been verbally assaulting the man since like 2015. So
and that I have. Yeah. I am blocked on Twitter. Love you, Kike, as a person. He's like a brother to me. I look at Kike and I see you. It's mostly because of them things.
The mustache
reference. See,
his is starting to look a little wild. Personally, he's.
Are you getting that yet? Where you're like realizing that it's a brand new persona?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's feeling it.
I'm a lot more mean.
We're very proud of you.
Drink more beer and Jim Beam.
Jim Beam, sponsor of the show. If you like Jim Beam and you like alcohol,
you'll love my mustache. I mean,
it all works out. But I saw a comment relating to what I said. Bvog on YouTube says, not for real. The Austin Barnes success is not for real. Ruiz and Smith need to play. And again,
there's a name. Ruiz is a name.
Of course, as of this time, Cabert's played only one game, but it went well.
Start him every game. Start him every game. Start him every game.
He is 1,000 in his career. So now with that, by the way, I think Janae is the new Dodgers mascot because she do be representing the Dodgers with Dodger gear 24/7, 365. So we take you, our exalted mascot leader. There's a bit of a catching conundrum brewing in Los Angeles. Will Smith hit the IL with this neck issue. I don't know how real it is. I mean, it seemed real-ish. Thank you, Fernando Tatis, for running into him. Those plays are illegal now. Thank you, that Marlins guy that killed Buster Posey. But you start looking at these three catchers, and we've been hoping for Cabert for a while, mostly because Austin's been so bad, but now Austin's kind of gooder. But on the Will Smith part, you've heard Joe Davis talk about it a number of times in the broadcast. Will Smith has been probably the Dodgers' biggest victim of bad luck because he's tearing the cover off the ball most of the time. Laser show right at defenders. His average exit velocity is 92.8 miles per hour, which is tied for third on the Dodgers. He's getting BABIP to death. He's second on the team, batting 154 on balls in play.
That's bad.
Jock is at 150. But the thing that makes it different, because you could hit like a pitcher velocity would be BABIP. Yeah, if it's bad. If you're hitting 74 exit velo and your BABIP's there, okay, that kind of matches. But the hard hits there, the hard hit percentage, StatCast has him at 46.4% on the hard hit, which is third on the team, or tied, whatever. He's third on the team, but fourth if you count Cabert's one game. So he's third on the team. That's good. So while Will is out, though, there's a new guy in town, new sheriff behind the plate. Gabriel Ruiz, number 25. Whenever I hear sheriff, I think of old Kevin Malone, the early 2000s general manager for the Dodgers. Bad guy, bad times, ruined everything.
The accountant in Scranton, Kevin Malone.
Yeah, he's the guy who signed Kevin Brown to that first ever $100 million contract. But while Will is out, there's that new guy who got Cabert, and he made his debut, and he did it with a bang. He gave the guys on the bench a show that were sitting out in the cheap seats there under the crappy canopies.
Under it
because they're nice. But before we get overly into this catching conundrum situation, we want to learn more about Mr. Cabert, and we got a guy for that. We went on the phone. We pulled some strings, and I called Tim, our Dodgers Nation prospect expert, SD Dodger Tim Rogers, and he's a guy who's seen Cabert, but also knows guys who knows guys who knows a guys who's seen a lot of Cabert over the years. So we went to him for some insight on on MLB's number 7 catching prospect in all of baseball. This is one of the happy times. One of your prospects didn't get traded, and now he's in the big leagues. One, how do you feel about Mr. Cabert Ruiz, the top catching prospect in the Dodgers organization? How do you feel about his debut, and what can you tell fans about this kid?
Yeah, of course, I'm very excited that he is still on the team. Like you said, he didn't get traded. I thought he did fall a little bit last year in terms of rankings. I thought it was possible, especially with Will Will Smith emerging. He's one of those guys though that's always been younger than everyone else, and for him to get into his first game and have his first at bat and hit a home run. I know there's a lot of Rancho Cucamonga fans that were very excited for him. It sounds like he's a really good guy. I know a guy that knows him really well, and I know that his Instagram was a bunch of screaming and yelling in a good way. It's exciting. He's a guy that I would.
What's going to be the big thing that fans are going to learn over this next week to 10 days that he's tandeming here with Austin Barnes?
Yeah, I think hopefully he gets at least a couple more starts. I know they're probably going to use Barnes a lot without Will there, but what they'll see is, despite yesterday where he struck out twice, he doesn't actually strike out a lot. I'm going to attribute that a little bit to some jitters and all that type of stuff, and maybe not having the full scouting reports and knowing it as much as some of the other players of the pitchers that were throwing at him, and he hasn't seen some of these guys before. But especially from the left, there's a little more pop from the left side. From both sides, the strikeouts are really low. I mean, even when he struggles, the strikeouts are usually low. Again, when he was in single A and double A, he was the youngest or close to the youngest for 3 years as he went through the system that way. Mm-hmm. And those numbers still, they were still there. But he is, a year and a half ago or so, I did an article on the catchers. And I talked to actually Drew Saylor, who was the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes manager. And he talked about defensively that, he has very soft hands, and then he has great tools, and the baseball intelligence is off the charts. So that's kind of, in some ways, I mean, despite Barnes has that baseball intelligence, people do, pitchers do like the way he calls a game. He also has soft hands, but Barnes doesn't throw very well. Ruiz probably throws better than him, but Smith throws better than both of them combined. Straight up on that one. But also, just to go back to the offense just a little bit, Drew Saylor compared him really to Victor Martinez. Mm-hmm. And that's his hero, and they're both switch hitters.
Couple Venezuelan catchers.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's if we get anything close to V-Mart, bring it on, please.
Yeah, that's a win right there. Hitterish Hebert Ruiz looking like a young V-Mart. It's a good comp.
Hebert V-Mart. Yeah, I'll take it.
V-Bert.
Yeah. I mean, as Tim talked about, he definitely, he's a kid. He's still coming up. He hasn't played a big league game until now. He hasn't honestly spent a lot of time around the big league squad until now, because even in spring training, he did not spend that many games up with the Dodgers squad. So for him to come in his first at bat and to see some pitches and then hit one out, super encouraging, first of all. But the fact that he had a couple strikeouts mixed in between, a little bit expected. I think he got the nerves going. Mm-hmm. Really weird atmosphere to debut in 2020. Yeah. I mean, there's just, you will never be able to compare this to any other season before, because it's unlike anything else. Like, imagine you spend all this time going to games where there's like 1,000 people there and that's it. Normally you get to the big leagues, there's 40 to 50,000 people there, and then you show up and there's only your team and the other team, and there's actually no fans. So to be able to debut in 2020 is very strange, but very encouraged about what we saw from Mr. Ruiz. We have been talking about him now for years. I'm very high on catching prospects, if you know me at all.
Yes, you are.
I love catching prospects. I think they're the greatest in the game. And so I've been asking Tim about Ruiz since I've known Tim. Since I've known Tim, I have asked him about Ruiz every single day of my life. So I'm happy to see him up.
Yeah, and as part of that conversation with Tim, like I said, I'll probably throw up the full thing on our youtube.com/DodgersNation TV channel, or maybe I'll throw it to Tim and he can make a post out of it and talk more about the catchers, because he loves doing that. But does talk about the other guy, Diego Cartaya, as a body that's around, another really good catcher. But this is like the future we have here. A switch hitting catcher that we haven't had since the days that Deoner Navarro was going to be the catcher of our future.
Deoner Navarro.
As your throwback Monday of the day, kids. So we have a guy, we have a very, very like Tim said, he dipped a little bit in the prospect shine last year, but he's still a very, very premier catching prospect. He's also a guy that seems to struggle with motivation at times. A big reason he was kind of struggle bus early last year. He was sent back down to Double-A to start the season. Another thing Tim mentions. And a few scouts pointed that out as well. He was expecting to go to Triple-A, but they had Will Smith. They can't do that. You can't have two top prospects sharing time at catcher at Triple-A. So somebody had to do it. He's the younger guy. It is what it is. But now he's here, and hopefully he'll keep tearing the cover off the ball and make Dave have a hard decision. But we want to make the decision. We're the fans. We know who we want to see. And what should that catching tandem look like between these three guys? So again, we'll throw to Tim another time here, a shorter clip. Tim, on his thoughts on what the catching situation should look like. What, in your opinion, not what will the Dodgers do, what in your opinion should this catching tandem look like between the three of Will Smith, Keibert Ruiz, and Austin Barnes, the legend Austin Barnes?
The legend of Austin Barnes. I see with for this season, Ruiz should go back. It should be Smith and Barnes. It's just too short of a season to make a change. Mm-hmm. But in the off season, if they think that he's gotten past some of the regression from last year, which he did regress a little bit. They made him repeat Double-A, which I think was a mistake.
Yeah, he wasn't overly happy for sure.
Yeah,
per reports,
they did that with a lot of players. Mm-hmm. It was kind of I didn't like it. But if he comes back to it, then they have some decisions to make. Do you go, well, do we keep Austin Barnes or do we trade Will Smith? Or do we trade Ruiz if his value gets higher? Let's not forget Brooke and I's favorite, Mr. Cartaya.
Mm-hmm. I thought you can go Rocky Gale.
No, that's the other Clint.
You get a Rocky Gale and a Diego Cartaya and a Deontay Navarro mention in one episode. I think we did good with this one so far. What do you think? What do you want to see?
I will say somebody finally acknowledged your VIN hiding in the background, which we've been waiting, I would say, about 2 months for now.
Yes!
Yeah, so you're welcome. Thank you, Michael, over on Facebook for that.
So happy.
I mean, you talk about an embarrassment of riches. We talk about this in the bullpen all the time. And with just pitching in general, I guess. But you look at the catching situation, and now all of a sudden you start thinking long term, and you're like, hey, two of these guys have to go at some point. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know which one it is, but two of these guys eventually aren't going to be able to be up. You talk about the big four in that catching situation. And Rocky Gale, of course. No disrespect to Rocky Gale at all. But we thank you for your services. Appreciate it. This falls in very unfortunate timing for Ruiz because Austin Barnes is like, hey, I can hit. Don't forget about me. I can hit. So inevitably, it's going to get to a point where I don't understand Will Smith not being placed on the injured list personally. I thoroughly expected that from the moment that he had to be pulled from the game with a neck injury. 10 days. It's only 10 days.
They seem to be a little slow on the draw with that. The same thing.
Same thing with Eddie.
Before Rios hits the IL at the start of this show, it was like, oh no, we do. It's what they said is benign or whatever. It's not
this
that
is a
bad.
one-time thing. So it also, it might build off of a little bit with the Corey Seager situation where they're like, hey, we're not going to put him on the IL because we want him available. And then he was available, and then he did great because Dave Roberts even said, hey, I wasn't expecting him to be available this fast, so it's a good thing we didn't put him on the IL. Might be a similar situation, but also you have a lot of guys who can catch for you guys. Yeah. So with that in mind, I think Ruiz is going to fall victim to the lack of space for him, I guess is a good way of putting it. I think Barnes will probably continue to put bat on the ball like he has been, and Ruiz will be back at the alternate site pretty soon. I don't know how soon. We do have producer Eric checking in on Periscope, but not producer Eric anymore. Senior Eric.
Senior Eric.
Eric,
what's going on, bud? Appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit here. My buddy, old pal, because That's what I'm going with right now. Nick C says trade Barnes for George Springer and one. How dare you?
We don't talk about.
We don't
Astros
want that
on this
poison.
show, boy.
Roach wants us to trade Drew Butera, one of the another elite or bullpen arm.
One
for
of the
Dodgers.
best-looking Dodgers out there.
He's a very pretty man.
Is he alive?
He is alive. He's doing
on the
well.
Rockies?
His
He's been on the
hair
Rockies.
is still perfect. His coif is just. That's a thing. Jose Rod says Austin Barnes gets traded. I don't know of a team that really would want or need
Miami.
him because obviously this hitting thing isn't for real.
Whatever team has Travis d'Arnaud on it could definitely use an Austin Barnes. That's for
Perfect
sure.
timing. Shout out to our friend Kate who sent us beautiful stickers of our names on Dodgers jerseys. We love Kate. She's great. She says, bring back Dodgers legend d'Arnaud. You lucked out with this whole COVID. You made COVID happen so you couldn't get that d'Arnaud tattoo.
Look, I don't know how he's hitting or doing right now. I hope he's unwell. I wish him the worst.
He's a nice kid, friend of the show.
No.
Anyways, that's kind of that. You guys figure out in the comments below what you think about the catching situation, and maybe we'll get back to it at some point. But personally, I think it at Keybert, whatever, show your wares. Make it a difficult decision, but you're probably going back to the alternate site. Keep getting your seasoning.
I've had a lot of people comment and say that his name is pronounced Keybert, but it's not pronounced Keybert.
No.
His name is pronounced Keybert. We've verified that. It is not Keybert.
It's going to be one of those names where everybody messes it up
always
forever.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
call him
There's a
Bert.
couple good ones on the team in the past that have been
I'm going to call him Berto. That's his new name, Berto.
Berto's a good name.
And while we have another section with Tim coming up in a second here in this final stretch before we hit the wrap it up button, we do want to thank Tim for taking the time with us earlier today. Follow him on Twitter at SD Dodger. That's Tim Rogers. And for more prospect stuff, check out Dodgers2080.com and, of course, DodgersNation.com. He writes for us there. He is our senior editorial lead.
That's a big title. And that also says you're old, Tim. I don't know what else to tell you. That's what that means.
Speaking of old people, Eric says... Senior Eric says that Keybert threw him a follow on Twitter today.
Hey, Eric, tell him to throw me a follow.
Yeah, tell him to add us.
I'm the biggest catching prospect fan in the world.
Yeah, he does one of those.
That actually might be a claim to fame. I really am a big catching prospect follower. I don't know. It's kind of a lame, thing to really be proud of, but someone said, "What up, Brook?"
I saw that. I was going to walk away from it.
I think it's because that people have a tendency to mess up my name on the podcast, and so he is playing off of that because one time somebody called me Broke. You recall?
Maybe it was him,
which is also true.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Dodger Dad.
Thank you.
Final section of the show. Yes, there is a trade deadline this year, and it's going to be weird. August 31st, the old waiver trade deadline is now the non-waiver and the only trade deadline of the year. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic wrote a long editorial about how it's not going to work, how it's going to be very weird. You got Scott Boras, Trevor Bauer's best friend, Scott Boras, trying to throw planes at only his people, only his players, so he can send them to other teams. But each team has kind of their own different protocols, and usually they, players kind of hop a public charter or a public plane, Southwest to get to their new team and whatever. You can't really do that this year. So as of the time of this recording, as I've said again already earlier in the show, the Dodgers have won 5 straight games. They've won 11 of their last 15. They lead the National League in wins. Winning percentage, they're like a loss away from having the best record in all of baseball. We also know they haven't hit their stride yet. All that setup, do we need help? I will add more setup.
Personally, I need help, yeah. What about you? How are you doing?
Back hurts a little bit, but that's par for the course.
My knee.
Added setup. Alex Wood, Will Smith, Joe Kelly are on the injured list. More added down on the farm. You got Lux, you got Mitchell White, you got not Will Smith, you got Zach McKinstry, Victor Gonzalez. I had on here you had Kolarek, but he's back up, so you're gonna have Rios. Now Rios is on the IL. You have a lot of bodies. You have a 28-man roster. You have a lot of bodies. Not everybody has been producing. Looking at you, Max. Looking at you, Jock. Friend of the show.
Friend of the Jock. Jog Peterson.
So again, do we need help? Do the Dodgers need help? Sorry. I understand you'll probably answer it the same way if I say, do we need help? Because, yes, we do. We don't need help with the booze sponsor. Thank you, Jim Beam, for sending us booze. Did like a Bob.
If you guys want to come over for
there.
a socially distanced bourbon party, we are available. Do we need help? Is that the question?
Just drink it. Yeah. Do the Dodgers need anything? There's a bunch of people on the injured list. There's people on the farm, air quote, USC.
I think barring any health concerns, which absolutely are in question in a pandemic year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think barring any health concerns, I don't think that the Dodgers do need any help. Mm-hmm. I don't think there is an upgrade that is out there that could do us any justice, first of all. Second of all, you guys also are forgetting almost all of the teams make the playoffs this year. That's a thing. I can't forget that. Pretty much everybody's going to make the damn playoffs this year. With that in mind, you need to consider the fact that a lot more teams are going to be less willing to sell off their team in a pandemic year, because if they can make the playoffs, they can make a little bit extra money, because a lot of them aren't making very much money at all right now. So with that in mind, everybody wants to make the playoffs this year. No one's really out of it at this point. The Red Sox are out of it. Let's just call it what it is. The Red Sox are out of it. There's a few, 1, 2, maybe 3 teams that are absolutely, you can just sell off your team now. Just forget about it. It's fine. But even the bad teams, even the guys that we expected to really be out of it right now, they're not out of it. The Orioles, they're contenders somehow as of right now. The Marlins, not a bad team right now.
Haven't played that many games, but
have not. And then you look at the Cardinals and you're like, hey, you've played 7 games? So you can't even really consider by the time of the deadline whether or not you are a contender or not.
And they already lost one of their co-aces.
So people are talking about a lot of things. People are talking about, hey, the Indians may be looking to sell off a starting pitcher like they do every deadline. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
The Reds, they're out of it, maybe. But no, they're not. I mean, everybody's still in. Everybody's still kind of in right now. And so it's hard to abandon that.
Doing the sort of fair trades are turned off right here. We're playing an old MLB game, and you could just make any trade if you hit that little cursor. Really, you look at this team. We already talked about the catching. Catching has enough depth to get through this season, especially when you have people. Max isn't quite hitting yet. He's getting closer. Jock isn't quite hitting yet, but if he doesn't, there are other bodies. You got Luke Raley, and you got people like DJ Peters, but also you still got Chris Taylor who can play in the outfield. You have enough outfielders. You have enough bodies who can move around. We're seeing Pollock. We're seeing a lot of Pollock in the center. Surprisingly, you're seeing probably too much Belly at first because out of necessity of Luxy not quite being all that there. But really, the only area of need sort of has been the rotation, but not just a body. You need an elite arm. You got enough bodies. I mean, we got Gonsolin fighting for innings.
The only type of player that you would bring in is a difference maker. You wouldn't bring in a role player or somebody who's going to make a minor adjustment or swing to something. And those major players aren't really going to be available, because if you're looking at people, you really got to be a seller to consider that. And to be a seller, you have to have had a very, very bad first 2 months of the season, a very bad, because you got to consider we're not that far into the season. By the time the trade deadline rolls around, you might have a little bit more clarity. But again, 2 weeks from now, how much clarity are you really going to have for a lot of those teams? Probably not that much.
This is pretty true.
Also, very important, Eric wants to know if it's hard for me to eat and drink with my mustache. Do you have issues with your mustache when eating or drinking? No. Sometimes I get a flavor in there. You
just do that. And you do the little,
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, what was that?
Sometimes you just got to suck off your mustache.
Just that. That's it. Sometimes
just let it breathe.
We're gonna pull that clip and let it breathe. Keep that sound drop. But
yeah, that's really the only need. I'm trying to get this. This also
sponsorship.
We got koozies. You're going to check out our Instagram, official Dodgers Nation, where we will have our beautiful haul from Jim Beam. We really appreciate when people send us stuff. We love you guys. Jim Beam, friend of the show.
Ooh.
By the way, Eric, I never see you wearing your friend of the show shirt. I'm pretty sure we gave you one. What up with that?
Eric doesn't go on Instagram, so
what the heck is Instagram?
You got to clarify.
Rest in peace, Eric's Instagram. The only name out there that makes sense, because there's going to be names. There's going to be Kevin Gosman, no. Yeah. Pass. Dylan Bundy, no. Pass.
No. Hard pass.
Clevenger is out there. Mike Clevenger is out there, and he is now a minor leaguer because he's a dumbass.
That's one way of looking
went
at it.
and partied, which, you know what? That's either a hit or miss. I mean, because you can go out and go get dinner with people when you're playing at home. But on the road, the protocols are different. So it's really weird. And MLB messed up on this. And to be fair, they knew what the protocols were. So Clevenger and Plesac should have, stayed their ass home. But they didn't. And he tries to sneak in, does Plesac, tries to sneak back into the hotel. And then Clevenger full-ass lies to the team saying, oh, he's a good guy. Yeah, I wouldn't do any of that. Let's go to the next team, boys. Woohoo.
You sound like that one NHL goalie when he's like, well, you have to be mad. It's only a game.
So pros and cons of Clev. Did he wear out his welcome? We go one last time to SD Dodger Tim and get his thoughts on a long-time want of his for this Los Angeles Dodgers team. Clevenger.
Yeah, so I know another big arm that's out there that the Dodgers have been looking at, thinking about it for a little bit. He's always been on the radar, and a guy that's in your bag a little bit, Tim, is Mike Clevenger, who happens to be, we'll call it under fire right now. I mean, what is your takeaway from that? I know you spent a lot of time thinking, talking about it, reading about it. What's your take?
Yeah, well, I think the cost did go down a little bit. But at the same time, I think he might be a little bit of kryptonite. We already saw what happened with the Marlins, and we already saw what happened with the Cardinals. And for these guys to do what they did was beyond. It's just beyond the pale, right? And so the question: would anyone even want them right now on the team? I mean, you already had a team basically throw them off the team, and. Does he come into a clubhouse where you got a guy like Kershaw and Mookie Betts and Justin Turner and all those types of stand-up guys that actually want to protect their wives and kids and all that type of stuff, right, to have these guys come in? And I can't see it happening, at least in this season.
Sorry, I'm stifling laughter here because in the background of that clip you could hear Gary opening up all the boxes of our lovely new sponsor from Jim Beam. We tried. We told him to be quiet. It was Christmas Day for Mr. Gary Lee today.
There was just so much stuff. We just couldn't do it. We also have this beautiful neon light behind us. As you guys can
I love
tell.
that light.
You guys have noticed by now.
I don't know.
Hey,
Eric, we need some tips on how to light the show with this light because it's like Jim Beam and it says Dodgers here, and we can't make it pop right on that. We have the box lights.
Have your people call our people.
Yeah,
we will be people.
Send one of your guys full hazmat suit. We'll give you a bottle of Lasorda wine. We have a few laying around.
He said, yeah, it looks terrible.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I know where you work. Anyway, final note on that. Clevenger would be nice. Clevenger's about the only guy. I don't think that's the type of body you bring into this. Same thing like Tim said. Like you have this tight-knit group of Dodgers who care about each other, don't want to get each other sick. They're doing all this stuff, and to bring somebody like that who basically got blacklisted out of his team for being a dumbass. Not the right kind of guy. He would be the right kind of guy to build add to the roster or to add to the rotation because I don't know how sold anybody is yet on Julio. Dustin May's been, killing it, but is he your third, fourth, fifth guy in the postseason? Kershaw, you never really know what you're going to get in the postseason. I know, I get it. I like new velo Kersh again. Walker looks like cheeks so far this year. They'll figure it out, but Roach asked, what was worse, Plesac's actions or his apology video? That apology video was pretty oof.
Let me drive around with my phone without a seatbelt while I record it and talk trash on the media for being terrible.
Yeah. That's a way to win him over there, Chiefo.
Is he on the catch hands? He might be on the catch hands list now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't like Plesac anymore. He had to trash talk media in the process because apparently they blew it up. And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry that we didn't babysit you and make sure that you didn't go out and break policy.
Jose Rod.
My fault.
Hey, it's working. Jose Rod says, I'm a fan of Jim Beam now. So we're going to make some highballs for
Jim
next
Beam,
week.
You're welcome.
We're going to make that. We're going to make that happen.
What is a highball? I don't even know what a highball is.
It involves that and ball. Thank you.
There's a point. There you go.
Thank you. Leave the team alone. That's it. Final note. We didn't talk about it today. We wanted to talk about it, but it's already been talked about so much. So I guess more so, we just got to thank our friends, Cooper Searles and Ross Stripling. I think we could honestly call them friends of the show for real, and friends of us. They're really good people, but they killed it in this Joe Kelly viral interview that blew up everything over on the Big Swing podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go listen to that immediately. It's worth it. I think I said it that it's the most viral Dodgers interview since Lasorda talked about Dave Kingman. Google it if you're a young one.
Please go watch that.
I mean, it gave us like so many laughs and countless like, yeah, mess him up, Joe. Get him, boy. That sort of thing while breaking the internet. So it was really cool. Maybe we'll talk more about it later this week if we decide to do another show, which we might. If you haven't checked it out, again, go listen to that Joe Kelly episode of the Big Swing podcast. It is gold, and it is worth it. You will need a swear jar with it, and just pray.
Yeah,
just pray a little bit.
Don't listen to it with your kids in the car.
Otherwise, if you do want more of us, we are on the internet. So find us at DodgersNation.com. It is a site where we do Dodgers Nation. That's a way to explain it.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
the best way
made
to
a new
describe
slogan.
it, I guess.
Subscribe to Blue Heaven, please. It makes us all feel tingly on the inside. We are on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Pandora, Stitcher Radio, Player FM, everywhere podcasts can be found. Even if we didn't put it there, it's there, and it's free.
Free 99. I don't think you can get a better deal in the world.
Once again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. We got all of the stuff sometimes.
All of the stuff sometimes. Guys, I am at BrookMe3. This guy over here is at RealFRG on Twitter. These guys are at Jim Beam Official. We appreciate them. We are Dodgers Nation on Twitter and at Officials Dodger Nation on Instagram. You got to have the official in there or else it doesn't count. Guys, thank you so much for your questions, for your comments. The game is about to start. We appreciate y'all. Maybe we'll see you this week, but if not, we'll see you Monday.
Bye.